Welcome back. I'm Wheezy, back with you today for day 4 of the LCCA Arts and Sciences Camp. Today, our theme is Diving Deep, Exploring the Ocean's Mysteries. And we're going to be looking at oil spills. Okay. Monday, you worked for NASA. Tuesday, you went to India. Wednesday, you were a geneticist. Today, you're going to be working for the Environmental Protection Agency or the Coast Guard because there's been an oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico and the birds that live in the water are covered in oil. So you are going to be responsible for devising a plan to get that oil off of those feathers and out of the water. You will need to brainstorm your ideas and plan your cleanup approach. Before we begin our challenge, make sure that you have all of your materials together. You're going to need a tarp. Okay, so we say tarp, but I'm thinking you got a trash bag, you got a plastic tablecloth, or maybe you're outside doing this. Whatever works for your family, okay? But what we're trying to do is not make a mess, right? So we got some trays. Okay, we got some water over here, okay. We got some blue dye. I've got blue food coloring, okay. We got some vegetable oil. We got a little bit of cocoa powder. No, you can't eat that. We got feathers. We got cotton balls. We got dish soap, clear plastic cups. Now, a plastic plate. Make sure you got the plastic plate because you had some paper plates in there. We want the plastic plate, okay? We got a sponge and we got a timer. Well, okay, so your adult gets to be your timer again today, all right? So right now, pause your video and get those materials out, okay? All right, you got everything? Great, let's get started. Have you ever gotten oil on your hands? Or maybe some grease. Okay, you remember how that feels? Oof. Very slickery. That's not a word, but it is today. Very slick. All right, how'd you get your hands clean? What'd you do? Just go stick them under the water? No. Well, maybe you did. But if you did, you probably found out that your hands were still oily or greasy, okay? That's because water, and I'm gonna throw a little chemistry at you right now. Water is what we call a polar molecule, which means it has a positive and negative end, okay? And oil or grease are nonpolar molecules, which means they don't have a positive or negative end. It doesn't really matter to them, okay? So what that means is, you probably heard this before, water and oil don't mix, right? Okay, so why is that important? Well, I'll tell you why, okay? One of the very worst, get serious for a minute here, got my serious face on. All right, one of the very worst environmental disasters that has ever happened in the United States was the 2010 BP oil disaster. And it really, truly was a disaster, okay? You probably, well, I mean, I don't know how old you are. That was 2010, this is 2021, maybe 11 years. So if you're maybe a little older than 13, you might remember it, but probably not. But the Deepwater Horizon was an oil rig, okay, and it exploded. There was a big argument. BP said it was the people on the rig's fault. The rig people said that there wasn't safety things in place. You know, blah, 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 playing the name blame game, right? Well, it doesn't matter whose fault it was. What that allowed for was oil to gush into the ocean for 87 days. Isn't that crazy? That's like 3 months, okay? I mean, just oil. 4.2 million barrels of crude oil pumping into the Gulf of Mexico. 16,000 miles of coastline were affected, including the coast of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. Y'all, 5 states. That's crazy. It messed up a lot of stuff, right? So, over 8,000 animals. Now, I am an animal lover, okay? And this broke my heart. over 8,000 animals, including birds, sea turtles, no, and sea otters. You know, they're so cute. You can just play with the sea otters. These animals were reported dead. Okay. Well, the United States pulled together, y'all, when this happened. Over 30,000 people responded to that spill. Okay. They went down there, they helped collect oil, they cleaned up the beaches, and they took care of the animals. Now, sadly, 11 years later, scientists are still studying the environmental impact on marine life. This doesn't go away. You try, but it doesn't go away. Now, I'm going to show my age a little more again. In the 90s, the Exxon Valdez had an oil spill in Alaska. Now, that wasn't a rig. That was just one of those big transport ships, tankers, okay, that carry oil. Okay, Alaska's a big oil state, right? And so it was carrying the oil. Well, I don't know exactly what happened, but it got a hole in it. All that oil spilled out there, right? In 2002, my sister and I saw firsthand the effects of that oil spill. We were in Alaska. And it's so sad because, you know, you got these animals and the oil gets on their fur or their feathers and they can't really repel the water very well. Okay? And in Alaska, okay, they can't really insulate against cold temperatures very well. And what happens is if they can't repel water and they can't insulate, then these animals are going to die. Okay? If they happen to ingest it, because now think about it, you know, you got birds that are eating the fish, you got the sea otters that are eating the fish, you got, you know, eating crustaceans and stuff like that. So those other little critters are also affected by this oil, right? So if they're eating that, then they ingest it and it's very toxic. Okay? Do you want to just drink a whole thing of, you want to drink this as vegetable? No, I don't think so. And definitely not crude oil, you know? So adult fish, they found them, they were going to be smaller. Their fins started to erode, and the chances of their eggs surviving decreased dramatically. Okay, y'all, this matters to so many people. Okay, you can tell I'm a little passionate about this because I'm an animal lover, like I said. All right, so these marine biologists are scientists who study aquatic organisms and their behaviors, and they studied what these oil spills, how these oil spills affected those organisms. Environmental scientists, another cool career, they're actually studying the effects of pollution on our planet right now, and they're still studying how oil can harm the fish and other organisms such as aquatic plants. Now, tell you about the aquatic plants. The aquatic plants are what our major oceanic food sources feed on, okay? That's what they eat. All right, so those plants die, the fish, the lobster, the crab, they start dying. Bigger things start dying. And guess what? Soon, we don't have our food source like we do because a lot of our food comes from the oceans. And we need to take care of them, right? And another, this is just recently popped up in the news around here. You know, now the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, is involved in the smell in Catawba. You know, for years that smell's been there, but now they're really investigating it. So that's another type of pollution. So there's not just oil pollution, but there's air pollution, water pollution. Well, oil pollution is water pollution. So there's water pollution, there's air pollution, all kinds of stuff. So there's trash, litter, that's pollution, okay? So now that you got a little bit of background, okay, I want you to come up with your plans for cleaning up this oil spill. Now, you can only use the following, okay? You can use your spoons, okay? Your soap, you got cotton balls, and sponges. Those four things, okay, are for gathering the feathers and collecting the oil from the bin, okay? Now, the collected oil, you're going to put in here, okay? Now, I said you were going to use a timer, but you don't have to time yourself, okay? If you want to give yourself a little more challenge, Set your timer for 15 minutes and see how much you can get out of there, okay? But before you get started, you're going to need to have your adult who's helping you to fill your tray with 4 cups of water and add a couple of, maybe 2 drops of food coloring, so you can see the difference between the water and the oil, okay? So that means you don't want to have any blue stuff or very little blue stuff in here, okay? You want to keep it in there. And then you're going to make our crude oil, okay? So remember, you got 4 cups of water, okay? Then you got a half a cup of oil and 1/4 a cup, a half a cup of oil, 1/4 a cup of cocoa powder, okay? And mix it carefully, okay? Mix it up really well. Don't make a mess. Then you're going to take that mixture and you're going to pour it on top of your water, okay? So that should give you a good 4 to 1, kind of 4 to 1 part oil there, okay? So you want 4 times as much water, all right? Then you're going to add in your cool feathers, okay? You're going to add in your feathers and you're going to mix it. Now, don't stick your hand in there, okay? Well, you can if you want to. You can go wash it after you do it. But I'm going to use a spoon and I would stick it in there and mix it up, okay? So pause your video and go do this now. Okay, and I'll see you in a minute. Welcome back. Hope you got your oil spill set up. Okay, you do? Yeah? Okay. Now you need to get your cleaning supplies ready. All right, so this is where your cotton balls, your sponge, 1/4 a cup of this dish soap, a clear plastic cup, and another spoon come in handy, okay? This is what you're going to use to clean up the oil. So pause your video and get those items ready too. All right, if you're going to use a timer, you're going to have your adult start your timer, okay, if you choose to, and begin with your cleanup. Okay, you're going to begin separating this oil, getting the oil off of the feathers, getting the oil out of the water. Okay, so pause your video and do that now. When you come back, we'll talk about your results. Wow. Okay, this was actually pretty challenging and very messy. So that's why you see my clean stuff here. Okay, because I made a mess. That's not good. All right, but that's okay. I would like for you to think about these questions as we go through your plan. Okay, number 1. Did you successfully clean all of the oil from the water and the feathers? Did you? I didn't. Why or why not? So you can kind of think about that, okay? Think about this question. What was the most effective method to clean up the oil from the water? I bet you got the same one I did, but we'll talk about that. Or you can share yours with me. Okay. All right, the next question. What was the most effective method to clean up the oil from the feathers? Okay. So we got what was the most effective for the water? What was the most effective for the feathers? Okay. So based on what you've learned about oil spills and their cleanup from this activity, what do you think would be the hardest part if you had to do this in real life? So what if you're working in the Gulf of Mexico, remember? So what if you had to go down there and clean this up? So think about that. And I've been thinking about that a lot because I've been seeing some commercials on TV, you know. So I've been thinking about, like, I would like to go and help do that, you know. Give me something to do, right? But I don't want to have an oil spill because that's tragic. That is very tragic, okay? Now, gosh, I'm really sad because I have really enjoyed our time together here this week, and I really hope you have too. Okay, but this is the last day. Darn, it's terrible. So remember, if your adults took any pictures, please send them to this email address, arts.takepart@gmail.com. We would love to see you in action and see your designs. I hope you have a wonderful summer. Enjoy yourself. Remember to be responsible in your choices and think of our natural resources. and get those minds engaged and thinking about engineering careers and science and art. Because without art, the earth would be blah. We'll see you soon, I hope. Bye for now from Wheezy.